Tonight on CTV, COVID numbers and regulations continue to ebb and flow, but a favorite CSU event comes back in spite of those changes.
Then, learn about the effects of a substance many college students are dependent upon, and see how CSU is celebrating Earth Day.
All this and more starting on CTV right now.
Good evening, Rams. I'm Natalie Devereaux.
And I'm Weston Hubbard. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It appears Fort Collins is headed for the most normal summer we've seen since 2019. A new driving force for this is Transfort, who lifted their mask mandate Tuesday morning. This will mean both drivers and riders can go maskless on Transfort, the Max and Flex bus. The policy change came after a recent court ruling, ending the federal mask mandate on public transportation. Although the mandate may be gone and we are seeing life return to a pre-COVID state, Transfort will continue to provide rides free of charge.
A King Soopers in Fort Collins is currently experiencing a COVID outbreak. After several weeks of low COVID-19 case rates, the King Soopers located off of South Timberline Road had a massive 42-person outbreak earlier this week. Larimer County is currently still considered in a low community level transmission rate. However, the 7-day case rate has increased by 27%. This outbreak pushes Larimer County up to the third highest outbreak cases in the state, tied with Jefferson County and slightly behind Boulder and Denver counties. Larimer County health officials are currently crediting the spike in outbreaks to traces of COVID found in wastewater around the city. As of now, another variant of COVID, BA.2, which is considered to be highly contagious. As of now, Larimer County has not indicated that they will change any of their COVID policies despite the increase in outbreaks.
A Fort Collins restaurant is under fire after serving alcohol to a minor. The Backdoor Eatery was the target for a sting operation earlier this week, where they were being tested to see if they would serve alcohol to someone under the age of 21. After failing this test, the restaurant was forced to shut down for several days. Upon reopening on April 17th, they were not permitted to serve alcohol for a 10-day period. This is not the first violation the business has faced for this offense, as they were cited for serving people under the age of 21 in fall of 2021. After the first violation, they had to pay a large fine in order for them to stay open. As of now, it is unsure if Backdoor is being targeted for the stings or it is simply just prone to bad luck.
After a 4-decade run, the Fort Collins Downtown Business Association unanimously voted to dissolve last month. The association cited a lack of needed revenue as the reason for their closure, as their main events had to be canceled due to the pandemic. The Downtown Business Association hosted Fort Collins events like the Bohemian Nights at New West Fest, the Colorado Brewers Festival, and Fort Collins St. Patrick's Day Parade. Luckily for residents, these events are not going anywhere. The Downtown Business Authority was absorbed into the Downtown Development Authority, or the DDA. The DDA will now host Fort Collins classic events like the First Friday Art Walk, the Fort Collins Foodie Walk, and Great Plates of Downtown. There are also new events in store for Fort Collins with the addition of Downtown Restaurant Week and Art Week.
Looking around the classroom, the majority of students have some type of caffeinated beverage with them. There are 4 coffee shops on campus and numerous vending machines where these drinks can be purchased. Besides helping you study for a test, what are the other effects caffeine can have?
Have a good rest of your day.
Over 90% of college students consume caffeine daily. For many, this is a pivotal part of their routine.
I used to be the person who was like, oh, I could have coffee or I could not have coffee and I'll be okay. And now I feel like it's kind of changing where like I need to have caffeine, which is a little scary.
But how exactly does caffeine work?
Really what it does is it acts centrally to inhibit adenosine receptors.
This is the chemical that makes you feel tired throughout the day.
The caffeine will bind to those receptors so that the adenosine that your body produces doesn't.
College campuses are a hot spot for caffeine intake, but not just amongst students.
If I don't have coffee in the morning, I don't think I lag, but it changes my morning routine.
Academic pressures can lead to students drinking high volumes of coffee, tea, and even energy drinks.
As the semester goes on, as happens with every semester, people get a little bit more tired, a little bit more run down as time goes on.
Although it may provide essential energy needed to study for a big test, there is a limit.
Sometimes you'll get like little tremors, you'll get increased heart rate, so sometimes you'll kind of feel like your heart's beating out of your chest, and then people will also have anxiety.
There is no denying a cup of coffee in the morning can help get the day started, but it is important to monitor how caffeine makes you feel.
there's not really going to be any bad side effects as far as we know, as long as you drink caffeine like within moderation, right, without drinking or taking those crazy amounts.
The good news is we can go ahead and still get that cup of coffee in the morning, and maybe a second one halfway through it.
Inmates in Larimer County jails are now able to access online education courses while they are living out or awaiting a sentence. Since the end of March, inmates have had access to more than 400 educational courses providing on tablets or at the jails. These courses teach you a variety of information, including resume building, mental health self-help, and even how to get a GED or become an auto mechanic. About 37% of inmates have signed up for this educational program that aims to reduce recidivism and help prepare these individuals for re-entry into the community.
Over 700 people in Fort Collins accessed services related to being unhoused in 2021. Chronic homelessness has been on the rise for years now. A need for a new 24/7 shelter is evident. City officials have been studying this issue for more than 2 years and are trying to locate an optimal spot for a new building. Once the city completes this analysis later this month, the rescue mission will have the final say on the location. Even though this long process appears to be coming to a close, it could be several more years until a new shelter is up and running.
The city of Fort Collins is looking to team up with the rest of Larimer County in an effort to better track air quality. The Air Quality Index is the main tool that tests the pollutants in the air and measures to see how dangerous they are to our health. And in northern Colorado, despite air quality seeming to improve during COVID, there are several reasons that air quality the last few years has actually gotten worse.
So if we think about the terrible wildfire season we had in 2020, especially here on the Front Range with the Cameron Peak fire and the Troublesome fire, we had sensory cues that allowed us to understand that smoke was in our communities. So wildfire smoke is actually a mixture of many particles and gases, but one of the particles we're particularly concerned with is fine particulate matter, or PM 2.5. When particles are that tiny, we can inhale them deep into our respiratory tracts, and these particles can interfere with oxygen exchange and cause systematic inflammation throughout our body.
The city and county have created a team tasked with finding ways to properly monitor the air quality, as well as find ways to combat against its worsening conditions. The city of Fort Collins alone created a $130,000 fund for air monitoring. The city and county are also looking to obtain grants for the project, including a $500,000 grant that would purchase new equipment to monitor the air quality. This in turn would allow the team to see how severe the situation is getting and evaluate their next steps after. The county also has acknowledged that there are bigger steps that do need to be done, such as the electrification of cars and heating services, better use of public transportation, and better use of land planning as a whole. We can only hope that the data the team receives helps form a good action plan, and we can all take a quality deep breath at the end of it all. And speaking of air, Michelle Ellis is here to tell us a little bit more about that. Right, Michelle?
That's right, Weston. We will have lots of air movements happening in the upcoming days, and maybe some of those nice breezes will make that air quality seem better. Stay tuned after the break to find out more.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help.
You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. My name's Michelle Ellis, here to give you the weather forecast for this week. Right now in Fort Collins, it's about 72 degrees this evening, and we're going to see those temperatures cool down into the mid-40s later this evening. We're going to see some clear skies and a cloud coverage about 2%, and a low chance of rain coming in at 1%. The sunset is going to be setting soon, about 7:46 this evening, and winds coming in from the south and southeast at 8 miles per hour. So we're going to be feeling that light breeze tonight, but these winds are going to pick up again tomorrow. And with these increased winds, the National Weather Service issued a red flag warning till Friday evening. This is due to a combination of increased winds and low humidity throughout the state. The humidity in Fort Collins is coming in as low as 8%, with winds ranging anywhere between 20 to 30 miles per hour, and gusts that can get up to 60 miles per hour. This combination of higher winds and low humidity increases the risk of fire danger. Because of the fire starts, it has a potential to spread quickly. Now we're seeing these red flag warnings issued throughout most of Colorado this evening, and we're going to see lower temperatures coming in about 50s, even the low 40s in Limon. And as we move into the mountain range, we're going to see it starts to cool down a bit more in Vail, getting to low 40s, Craig low 40s, and Gunnison, Alamosa, and Telluride hitting the 30s. But we do see that it starts to warm up in Grand Junction at about 56 degrees, and it will warm up tomorrow in the rest of Colorado. In the Eastern Plains, we're going to see that in Burlington, Lamar, we hit the low 90s, Sterling into the high 80s, and as we move down into the I-25 corridor, we're going to see that it starts to cool down to the low 80s, even with Pueblo starting to warm up into the mid 80s. Now, as we move into the mountain range, we're going to start to see that it does cool down in these mountain towns, with Vail getting into the low 60s and Telluride really cooling down into the low 40s. But in Fort Collins, we're going to see it's 81 degrees and it is going to warm up there. But in the evenings, it is going to cool down a bit. We're going to see it might be 81, but those temperatures are going to cool down about mid 40s throughout the rest of the day. And we're going to see rest of Colorado as well, mostly warm. Now we're going to see partly cloudy conditions throughout Colorado with a low chance of rain, or in Fort Collins with a low chance of rain at 13%, and a sunset coming in at 7:47 in the evening. Now with wind, we're going to see in the morning it's going to be between 5 to 10 miles per hour, but then it's going to start to pick up in the afternoon, ranging anywhere between 20 to 30 miles per hour, with gusts getting up to 40 miles per hour. Now we're going to see this wind carry on throughout the rest of the week as well, with Friday, again, 10 to 30 miles per hour, Saturday, 20 to 30 miles per hour, Sunday, 10 to 20 miles per hour, and then Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see it ranges between 10 to 15 miles per hour. But we're going to see mostly partly cloudy conditions, except for Saturday with a mostly overcast conditions. Sunday, it's going to be partly cloudy, but we're going to see it more on the cloudy end. We're going to see that it starts to warm up on Friday, but then this cold front moves in on Saturday with those overcast conditions, cooling down to the low 60s. Sunday cooling down into the high 50s, carrying on into Monday where it starts to warm up a bit, and Tuesday warms up into 77 degrees. Well, Rams, that's all the weather I have for you tonight, but don't go anywhere. After the break, find out how CSU is highlighting the women of Fort Collins, both Mother Nature and some non-traditional ladies. Stay tuned.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Welcome back from the break, Rams.
And you know what, Natalie, speaking of Rams, one of my favorite parts about CSU is how close we are to the foothills. I love feeling so close to nature, and especially with Earth Day coming up tomorrow, it's cool, you know?
I agree, Weston. And we have live reporter Gavin Wolf joining us today to tell us more about this. Gavin?
Thanks, guys. CSU is known for sustainability, and with Earth Day coming up, a special celebration was held in honor of protecting this wonderful planet that we get to call home.
The Earth Day Festival is part of Earth Month, an annual celebration of sustainability.
Sustainability is still a little bit unknown, especially to our first-year students, so we really want to show them the fun part of it, but also have that kind of engagement in education.
CSU's sustainability movement goes beyond Earth Day, and students are a driving force for new ideas and greener initiatives.
We represent the Zero Waste Team, which is a club on campus that seeks to reduce waste in any ways that we can. So a lot of that means composting, recycling, and reusing things.
But sustainability doesn't have to be a grand gesture.
It's not about doing everything all the time. Any sustainable action that you take is good. So throwing your compost in the compost bin or reusing your water bottle, all of those make a huge difference.
For these these students, community and teamwork are a big part of making a difference.
It's just doing the little things that make a big difference.
Yeah. I'd say collective action too is a big thing. So join a club, find your friends, do something, and find some people who love the things that you do.
The hard work from student clubs and organizations helps to keep campus sustainable for future generations.
They have fantastic ideas and, projects they want to bring to fruition around sustainability, and seeing some of those projects being proposed and actually go through to the end and actively happening on campus is a sight to see.
CSU has a lot of helpful resources, and one thing I learned from the Earth Day Festival is that there's no better time to start living sustainable than now. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Gavin. I do think it's so cool that campus is taking the initiative to highlight these topics.
I definitely agree, and we live in such a beautiful state, Colorado. I'd love to see that preserved, and I think this whole Earth Day celebration on campus is a great thing.
Truly, highlighting the green state with a green thumb. All around really good. The ACSU Senate met last night to vote on a bill that has been 2 years in the making and that has a controversial background. Earlier this year, the then current Speaker of the Senate, Kyle Hill, resigned from his position. However, Hill's biggest goal within ASCSU was to pass his bike protection bill and promised to do so regardless of him being a part of ASCSU or not. In the chambers last night, the bill was brought up. If passed, it would use student funds to provide 6,000 free bike locks to students, as well as install cameras in places where bikes are commonly stolen. After some clarifying questions, all members of the Senate were asked to vote. Speaker Jackson delivered the verdict.
Seeing none, with a vote of 21 to 0 to 0, this bill passes.
In a decision with all members voting to approve the bill, former Speaker Hill was able to keep his biggest promise he made to ASCSU and the school.
An app is the newest tool Fort Collins PD is adding to their belts. In partnership with UC Health, the police department will now be using the Vitals app. It is designed to help with de-escalation for those experiencing a mental health crisis. The app allows anyone to create a profile, which includes an individual's name, photo, medical information, behavioral triggers, and de-escalation techniques. Individualized videos can also be uploaded that first responders can use to help calm someone down. Police hope this will give their officers and mental health response team the best outcome when dealing with these situations. The app will be in use in just the coming weeks.
The city of Fort Collins is looking to host a community-oriented event focusing on equity. The event, which is called the Equity Indicators Community Conversations, will take place in the evening of April 28th, a week from today. These conversations for city and staff and community members to interact and discuss several important topics the city is attempting to deal with, including housing, criminal justice reform, and public safety. Attendees are encouraged to RSVP beforehand and can do so on the City of Fort Collins' website.
After city manager finalist Jim Thompson withdrew his name from the running, Fort Collins can't seem to catch a break, or at least a new city manager. Just weeks ago, the city announced they would be postponing the election by 3 months. But now Deputy City Manager Kyle Stannard is leaving the position. Stannard created Fort Collins' first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion office. He will be officially stepping down in June and taking over city manager position in Washington. Fort Collins will continue their search to fill the vacant spot.
And speaking about vacant spots, Abby McPhail is here in the studio to tell us about a popular CSU event that has come back to fill the void that had created 2 years ago. Abby?
Thanks, guys. This past Saturday, one of the largest drag shows in northern Colorado took place right here at CSU. Hosted by drag queens Jessica Lahore and Chocolate, the drag show drew in hundreds of people. In fact, the entire Laurie Student Center ballroom was open to accommodate the audience. Producer Lee Medley has the story.
For the first time since the pandemic, Colorado State University has brought back its annual drag show, and it has brought the LGBTQ+ community back together.
I've heard drag stand for dressing to represent another gender, and it sort of mixes and plays with all the genders. It's an opportunity to embrace the fluidity of who we are in our gender identity, and it continues to allow people to be seen and heard.
Visibility is really important. Whether it's that somebody is aspiring to start performing in drag, or even somebody who's just on their own journey as far as sexual identity, gender identity, it's so important for people to see queer identity.
With a large LGBTQ+ population in the Fort Collins and CSU community, this drag show has been known to bring people together.
It's the ability for me to connect with community students and staff and just anyone who has ever felt that they don't have a voice. And so this show gives me that opportunity.
I have never wanted to leave this town. I feel very safe here. I feel that there's always a community to exist in here as a queer person, as well as there's a lot of different types of queer people here in town.
Attendees were able to tip their performers, and all of the money went right back to the Pride Resource Center for future scholarship recipients.
My life has been snatched, coiffed, and polished because of all these people that showed up. We had a ballroom set for 1,400 and there was not an empty seat in the space. And there were people online as well watching. And so I think that those number of people tells me it's something that we are all craving and it's a community that we all need. We need to continue this tradition, and this tradition will continue, and our students will continue to have their voices heard, and our community will continue to shine, because there's no other option but to shine.
Seeing so many people come together to celebrate individuality was amazing to see. So I can't wait to see what they do next. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Abby. And with that, we are out of time for tonight's news show.
But don't go anywhere yet. Leah Kakowski is up next to talk about all you need to know about spring football and how the women's tennis team is doing in a game that ended just about an hour ago. Stay tuned.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again. But an awkward silence can be a great thing, like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
What's up, Rams? My name is Leah Kakowski, back, as always, as your Thursday night sports anchor. So, as I'm sure you've already heard, CSU football is officially back for its annual spring game this Saturday. I'll give you a rundown on everything you'll need to know heading into that one, plus Colorado State women's tennis just finished up a match against Wyoming earlier this afternoon. I'll make sure to fill you in on that one too on Thursday Night Sport, which is going right now. Man, am I excited to talk about football over the past couple of weeks, because I'm just extremely excited because organized play has not been around for a while, especially because expectations are just so much higher for this fall compared to what we've dealt with over the last few seasons. Thanks to, obviously, the completely new coaching staff that Jay Norvell brings to town. Meaning things have to be better for the green and gold now that they're not under the man who must not be named, right? But like any event they do every year, this new squad on the gridiron has been practicing all spring over the course of 15 practices that just wrapped up today, which, of course, comes to a head with the annual green and gold game. They're, as always, to provide some of the best opportunities for guys lower on the depth chart to position themselves for success come fall camp. And, of course, act as an indicator to see how far this team has truly come in the past month or so of organized work. So with all of that being said, let's take a look into some keys to look out for if you end up going to the game at Canvas Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Starting things off on offense, as Cam told you on Monday, one of the most outstanding guys from last season had to be senior Ty McCullough, who put up a total of 415 receiving yards this past fall.
And sure, I get it. That doesn't seem like a lot through 12 games. But hey, look at it this way. Ty was in an offense that ran the ball like 70% of the time. So yeah, I'd say he did pretty well. And moving on, McCullough definitely isn't the only returning presence that's positioned to make some noise in a few months. 3-year starter Dante Wright is also still in that receiving room. And with his versatility at both returner spots, I expect him to get the ball a lot on sweeps, reverses, and screens in order to manufacture him some touches and explosive plays. And of course, these two aren't the only guys on this offense unit who will no doubt make a massive impact in Coach Novell's first season. I mean, look no further than transfer Torrey Horton, who looks to be the favorite for that number 1 receiver spot, along with, as always, the running backs who will be facing off to the very end for that starting job, including, of course, last year's starter David Bailey, who's coming off of 752-yard season. Yet another addition from the Wolfpack, Avery Morrow, who still has another 3 years of eligibility left here at CSU and took some significant snaps at Nevada in his first 2 seasons. And okay, before I wrap up the complete look of this offense, I of course have to mention the most important position on the field, and the arms race shaping up at QB. So after last season's starter Ton Centillo transferred to JMU, this spot has predictably been really up for grabs. And newcomer Clay Millen from Nevada has really taken hold of this spot over the course of the spring. I mean, he's one of the highest ranked recruits in the Wolfpack's history. So it's pretty easy to see why this coaching staff, who got him to Reno, I might add, really believes in his upside. But beyond that, there's still a few more guys to take note of from this QB room. Redshirt freshman Giles Pooler and early enrollee Evan Oleas are both really close to that number 2 quarterback job. And like they'll need to do in this air raid system, they can clearly sling it with the best of them. And finally, I can wrap things up tonight because that is unfortunately all the time that we have tonight. But make sure to tune in on Monday for yet another edition of Monday Night Sports. Stay safe, enjoy the warm weather this weekend, and we'll see you then.